well, I've, apart from core front-end framework manager and UX maintainer, I'm also leading the user experience parts on Drupal Starshot, on Drupal Starshot, and I'm also a senior front-end developer at Lullabot. And I'm super proud to be able to show this, and it should be, yeah. So basically, we already have done its crop. Well, anyway, so we finally have the navigation inside core as an experimental module. It took months to, well, actually, it didn't even reach a year, but it took, well, kind of, more or less it took a year to get it inside core. And it's finally inside core as an experimental. And our goal is that it's the default navigation for Drupal Starshot. And also Jean has that enabled and works for that. The thing is that why we actually wanted to create a new navigation and replace the top bar that we already had, like the toolbar, if that could be extended with the admin toolbar and other contrib modules. So the thing is that we wanted to empower site builders, but the thing is that we wanted them to build the best solution for their sites, and each completely different situations. And we were coming from a place where we actually wanted to make Drupal easier. What Laurie and Gabor were saying before about the fact that you can create crazy things with Drupal, but starting is super complicated. So we basically wanted site builders that didn't have a lot of Drupal experience, and maybe they don't even want to code, to actually go and update their backend, UI menu by themselves and adapt it for their client needs. And we wanted to provide the best defaults, the best interactions, and I think that's one of the big UI improvements inside Go and since Claro. And the look and feel and the perception was super important. So we wanted to improve on different ways. So what I was saying is that it actually took a year to get into core, but we started, so this started from a lot of previous work. It didn't come out of the blue. It came from a lot of previous work, like for example, on the information architecture side, there's been an issue there sitting there for years, and there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of work. And we also did a lot of research to get where we got. So we didn't say, okay, I like a left menu there, and I decide that I'm gonna just do whatever and put some icons. Cool, ship it, it's nice, it's cool, it works, bye. No, we actually did a lot of research, and actually just the research itself took half a year. Just the research itself, the beginning. So then after that we started. So we also started with the designs, and user tests started even before, because we could say that the designs, the first thing that we did is try to prototype them. And one of the first tests that we did was basically HTML without any Drupal, to actually see if people wanted to see the things on the left. So to test if it was useful. So we basically are basing our decisions on data and tests with people and with users, and we come back the ideas. And then when we actually had all the front end and everything working, we started doing all this integration. And we finally got to core, and we're planning to be in Starshot. Some of this research that I'm talking about, it's also happening for Starshot, but we actually started a while back searching for the right user personas for the admin interface. Who is actually going to work with the admin interface itself? The three main personas that we came up with, and the names might differ a little bit from what might be used, but the site administrator, which is the person that is going to stay there and administer the site. If the Drupal needs to be updated, the Drupal version or install new modules or whatever, add new users. Then we have the site builders, that is the person that is going to, well, you all know, create the content. And then we have the content users, which are content users that can either create content, manage content, but their needs are completely different from the ones from the site builder and the site administrator. The research also took into account the journey that each of these personas have when they land into core, and in the way we found a lot of other things, and that is in Drupal, to find things to improve on the UX side of things. But we did actually research on each of the journeys, and it helped us a lot. What I was saying about the information architecture and the differences between the user personas is that, for example, and you all know that, I'm sure I've talked about that, like with tens of people, the thing, and you've all discussed that between each other. I'm not going to show something that you don't know. But basically, you right now install Drupal, you give the default toolbar, and you create an editor or a content user or whatever you can call it, and you define the right permissions, and suddenly you have this top bar that has random menus in there that don't make any sense, like inside the report or inside configuration, and what's a structure, and what's a content, what's the difference, and why the menus and the tags are inside the structure. Well, you all know that. So we basically tried to come up with an idea a while back that was a completely different menu that was just for these content users. But the idea was, how are we going to make this work at the same time that it has to work for site administrator and site builders? So we basically came up with this left navigation, and we tested if it made sense for a lot of users. Basically, we, as I was saying, we started an HTML prototype that we integrated in Drupal as a module. Basically, we kind of wrote the whole HTML menu inside a template, and then we printed that inside Drupal. But that actually helped us. It was kind of fast to get there. It was work, but it was fast to test if that made sense. We disabled the toolbar, we tested that, and when we saw that all that was working and that it was kind of easy to update and make any improvements that we needed to that, we started integrating all that with menu system, and then we saw a lot of things that we needed to change and we weren't expecting, but that's Drupal, it's always like that. So we basically, on top of that, we started implementing the new features and the designs. So that's more or less the process that we followed. During all this time, we did several user tests, which are the ones at the top, but also a lot of other research, which was, for example, the card sorting or a survey. So the first user test was with the HTML prototype. The card sorting was to try to see if people, the way that the menus were organized made sense for people and each different personas. The second round test was actually to try if the menus made sense. In the second round, we actually discovered that site builders and administrators, they didn't care about having a content menu at the top because they were actually using that, and it was so small compared to the rest of the things, and because you have a lot of space on the left side, that they didn't care about having the content menu there, because we're not talking about 15 items, we're just talking about 3, 4, and at the end they want to see exactly the same of the people that are at the end going to use the Drupal site on a regular basis. So that was surprising for us, because our hypothesis or our assumptions at the beginning were that we were going to need to have completely different menus. So that was a really good finding. But a not so good finding is that people were saying, oh yeah, I like it. I think the menu is great. It works perfectly. And are you going to use it? No. Come on, you're just saying me that it's better, it's more usable. I know the other one, I don't need to use that, and unless I'm forced, I'm not going to actually go and change to a next menu. And we were like, why are we doing that for? And then we said, okay, we need, so this second round of tests, we did that with the University of Minnesota? Yeah. So, and we also tested in there are things, like project browser, it was like a big test. And we were helped by these UX experts, researchers, that what they told to us is that we basically need to handle this as a with management, change management. It was a change management situation where we actually needed to give people a reason to change. And okay, how can we give the people a reason to change if we're, the thing that we're giving to them is already better? So the key for that, it was giving people a better and more easy way to customize their menu. And with that survey that I was showing before in here, we found out which were the customizations that people wanted to do. Wait, not this one. So in these customizations, we actually decided that we were going to let them create new menus, customize the existing menus, and we also put the logo there because it was easy. So basically, we will let people customize the whole menu, and per user, sorry, not per user, per role. Basically, those are blocks, so they could create a menu, then place the block in here, and they have their own custom navigation. So that was the perfect excuse to actually have that in there. Basically, what I was saying, this is a block. So in the future, you will be able to create a block with something inside that is not a menu. You do that on your own risk. We don't provide designs for that, but you can do that. It's Drupal. We have developers. People do crazy things. We are not responsible for the designs or that, but you will be able to do that. And yeah, basically, you can put, the default is that the menus work by default. So you can customize that. And come with me with this story. We started deciding that we were going to have blocks to change that. And we needed all that for DrupalCon Portland, which was at the beginning of May. And we were talking about that around January, February. We're perfectly on time. We're like right away, like defining all these navigation blocks. It made a lot of sense. But we were doing all the user tests that we were saying before. And I left for holidays. I think it was like for 1 week or something like that. And I left and I said, okay, we found this problem where people, they want to open the menu and they expect this not to be a link. And they expect this to be the whole thing that they click and open the things. But how can they actually go into the configuration page? There has to be a way to get there. And so far, we were using accordions. So there wasn't a way for that. And I said, OK, we have this problem. This is a small detail, a design detail. Just I'm going for holidays 1 week. Feel free to find a solution. Make your own choices. And I will come back. And I come back, and they basically changed the whole design. And I was like, cool, OK. Now we have to implement that again. So it basically took off like a month or something to rebuild all that. A lot of great things and usability improvements came out from that. But that's this continuous improvements and continuous user testing that basically move things. And we were accounting for, sorry, core committers to have for a lot of times for you to review that, but we had to make huge changes on the way. So forward on time, it's like we say the core committers, hey, we have this whole huge new module, and they were like, oh, we have to review that with just 3 weeks of time, and we know you told us 1 week or 2 weeks before, but we have a lot of modules to review because it's Drupal 10.3, a lot of people want to get in core. So we were basically reviewing getting the module reviewed by the core committers and several other people. And we basically left Friday with a lot of feedback. We were basically doing going through the feedback, like checking threads on the merge request. And we basically arrived on Monday. And from these navigation blocks, we basically, well, that's the whole story is basically that we basically arrived on Friday, on Monday, and Lee, Roland, basically refactored this whole UI that was for managing blocks with Layout Builder. And we moved from having this UI for choosing and moving blocks to use Layout Builder. So we are basically shipping with that now. Beyond all that, we created this new design system that hopefully in the future will be used. It's using a lot of things that are similar to Claro, but it's also improving a lot of other things, like, for example, using a variable font that I'm not sure if you all know what it means, but basically with one font we can have a lot of weights used, and it might not say a lot of things to you, but for a designer it means that the wall, because basically what makes an interface is basically text, lines, and colors. So basically text has a little bit of importance in here. So being able to use a variable font where you can play with a lot of things, it made a huge deal, a huge change. We also have icons. So there are a lot of things on this new design system that can improve the whole user interface itself. So we know that we've moved the sidebar to the left, the navigation to the left, and that was the first attempt to basically change the layout that we have in Drupal. If you move that, if you leave empty this top place for the navigation, you suddenly have a lot of other regions where you can put stuff. From the top bar, like a sticky bar, you can have like the whole right navigation, stuff at the bottom. So you can basically make a lot of changes. And we basically created this top bar. Okay, that it's out of the screen. But in this top bar, what we're doing right now is just moving the local tasks. So if you are on an edit node, basically you have all the delete, view, translate, all these local tasks in these more actions. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that later. But basically the goal is that all this information in here can actually be moved. Not all of them, but a few of the information here can be moved to the top. So there's a lot of reordering that we can do with all that. Several other changes that we're thinking that the navigation could bring is like from these local tasks, we also can create local actions. Like if, for example, you're on the content list, you can have the add more content at the top right, for example, and it can be on this top bar and doesn't have to be on the in the content of the page, so you have more space for other things. The filters, there's a lot of things that can be moved. Other improvements are, for example, the design tokens. This is a conversation that has been going on the design side for this design system that we're trying to create, admin design system. The important thing here is that, I'm not sure if you're seeing, we have Drupal admin in here, and we have admin toolbar in there. It means that we can create design tokens that these are reusing this admin token or this admin system so we create the default, this admin toolbar, we define it in a way that if the admin theme is giving this Drupal admin color blue 100, this is the one. Otherwise, the default is going to be this one. So we are creating a system so other admin themes can actually replace that. And at the same time, if in the front end you have a color blue 100, it's not going to be replaced because we have this namespace over there. What happened? So beyond that, we also are planning on how to organize these design tokens, because there are different things that need to be there, from icons, text, either surface focus, that's layering that we need to define, because that's also going to be used, this definition by the Experience Builder. And then we have these component tokens that need to be, or can be reused from the token itself, or can be defined on the token itself. So we need to define all these layers of design tokens. And I know there are some people already working on that. All these things will let us, perfect in the middle. There is this issue on Drupal.org where we are actually working on trying to get a YAML where you will be able to define colors. Let me know later and I will give you the right number. On the front-end side, we are also having improvements. For example, we don't use jQuery at all. We are using modern CSS, and we also plan to move everything to single directory components. On the accessibility side, we also have a meta issue where we are testing for all these things. We have several issues. If people want to work on that, we'll be super happy. And one of the big changes that are coming now is this top bar that I was saying. And I'm not sure how to do that because it's not going to be seen at the top. So from this that I was showing to you, we're going to this, and thank you. Ooh. So this top bar, basically, this is one of the goals that we have. Obviously, before getting there, we have to test everything and have surprises on the way. But if you can see in there, we have the save button. The save button is something that was super scary for us, and actually Sasha from Gin is actually trying to implement that on Gin and is already fighting the fight for us, which means that basically all the tests are being broken because they assume the save button is going to be inside the form itself. So he's already helping us a lot by fixing all these things beforehand. But we have to do all these changes at the top. And we're also coordinating with Sasha, with several different things. But we also need to define what goes on the left, because on the left we're going to have contextual information. So we're basically defining and we will give instructions to people to easily use all these two new regions on the right way. So the left side, the sidebar itself, is for site-wide navigation. The top bar, it's for contextual navigation for the content that you have on hand. In here, on the right, you're going to have actions. On the left, you're going to have contextual things that place you or give you contextual information, but you can't do a lot with that unless you leave the page. Like, it's a node published, how long ago was published, but then also on the right you will have like settings or more advanced actions or something like that, which is basically opening and closing the sidebar on the node, but it can be way more than that, and that's something that we need to test. So our current priorities is getting to stable before September, October without killing the core committers in the way. And also trying to get the top bar done, because we realized that several things that are in stable and on the standard profile that need to work on that. Like, for example, if you're on the front end and you have this edit button that you click, and then you have these quick links to edit blocks, that's by default enabled. So we need to provide a solution for that. So that's why suddenly the top bar is actually an unstable blocker, or at least a few parts of that, and we want to focus on getting that done. So if you want to get involved, the issues in core are on the navigation component. We need help for people that might use this top bar for things, or the sidebar also, but especially the top bar, to see examples on how this can be broken so we can have ideas beforehand. The Slack that we're coordinating is the admin UI, and I hope we're going to have an admin UI table, and otherwise just look for me. And that's it.
Thank you. A few questions. Time for questions and answers. Anyone?
Thanks. I really like the fact that the menus can be customizable. Does that mean that we can finally add icons to menu items as well then? Because otherwise we end up with the stuff you put into the menu that doesn't have an icon, while the core ones have icons.
This is always Drupal
pet
like
project
that.
for me.
Like, I want to customize even more than that. So the idea for us is that we won't provide icons. We will provide a default. So if you don't put an icon, there is not going. No, I don't remember. There was an initially an icon, and then we removed. Anyway, the point. So if we put icons, and we provide icons, we need to decide which library. If we provide a library, you might want one library, and somebody else might want another library. And since you have a library to choose icons for the menu, you have to change the menu UI. But since you are providing icons, why don't you provide that for users on the content itself? So you see how that escalates. So this is Drupal, so we are going to escalate that. And we have to find a way where we provide an API for having icons in core, or having, not having icons in core, but provide an API to have icons and define how icons work, because there are a lot of libraries. And icons are not just icons. Icons have properties, like are they going to be bold? Are they going to be filled? Are they going to have colors? So it's not just that you want icons on the menu. You see how that escalates. So yeah, we're having this conversation. We are aware of that. But since we want to ship with a stable, by default, if you don't have an icon and you put your custom menu, you are going to be responsible of that icon via CSS or on your custom module or however. So by default, icons, putting new icons on menu items, you will be able to create menu items, but if they are on the first level, you will have to take care of that icon because it escalates. So, but we are eventually going to have an API to provide icons, and maybe YAML, maybe media, I don't know. That's a conversation ongoing.
Okay, another questions?
Thanks for the presentation. I recently have tested the navigation module with the release of Drupal 10.3. Is an integration with the devel module planned to easily make integration like we have currently in admin toolbar or stuff like that?
We had a conversation with the maintainers of the admin toolbar module. And initially, they were super excited about helping out and integrating all that. We reached out them weeks ago, and we haven't heard back. So, so there is going to have to be something for sure. I don't know yet if they are going to want to take care of that, or if since there is a navigation, they don't care about that and somebody will take care of it. But as a developer, I want all these things also. So we are trying to make everything in a way that is easier for country modules to put layers on top of that. So whoever wants to get involved in that, I've actually been creating icons, and we're actually using an open source library that is called Phosphor. So whoever wants to add icons, it's as easy to go to Phosphor, get an icon, and put that on there. So I'm happy to help whoever wants to work on their country module to create a menu in there to help however we can. So it's easy, and it's basically easy to customize whatever. So if you want to create a country module or update the admin toolbar and put an icon in there, I will help however I can. So,
thank you.
Last question? Anybody? Yeah.
The question about colors. Color module moved to Contrib, and looks like the only maintainer at the moment. So is the colors parser supposed to be like API, so we can extend it in Contrib?
I'm not sure how the parser is going exactly to work, because I think it's, so the design tokens conversation that I was saying, that is, Drupal always have so many tentacles and so many things. So the color itself, so on a design perspective, you want to control your design and you want to provide a set of colors. So you kind of want to give a palette. And maybe you have a multi-site and you want this university to use these colors and this other use these other colors. So you're going to give 2, 3, 25 different palettes, but that's a group of colors. So you're not just choosing colors, you're also choosing groups of colors. So that's design tokens where you also choose groups of colors. So that's a theme in a design token. So that's another another layer. But it's not just about the colors. Then it's also about accessibility of each of the colors, not just towards black, but towards white. So the thing is that it's more a design conversation that should put limits. But then you go to Experience Builder. And in Experience Builder, they were saying that you're going to be able to do so many things on the browser and by the site builders. So basically, it's not just about a YAML that can parse color, it's how do you actually put guardrails for site builders that don't have design knowledge to actually play with design tools. So it's not just about being or not being able to extend that as contrib, because that's for sure is going to be possible. It's about doing the right thing for the design perspective, for example. So if you're playing with colors, you better need to use either somebody that knows about colors or have the proper safe worlds.
Strong designer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina. It was an amazing session.
Thanks all.